Well, you are taking a live look tonight outside the Vatican in Italy, where people are paying their respects to the late Pope Francis.
We've seen people gathering at St. Peter's Square all day, where they just prayed the rosary 2 hours ago. Keep in mind they are 6 hours ahead of us right now, so we're closer to the 11 o'clock hour. And in the last 2.5 hours, just today, we learned that the Pope officially died of stroke and irreversible heart failure.
And many people say they're in shock to learn of the Pope's passing, less than 24 hours after he delivered his Easter blessing Sunday. The 88-year-old pontiff delivered the message from a wheelchair, with some saying he looked frail. However, he did get in the Pope-mobile to go around the square and bless everyone.
His death now comes weeks after he was hospitalized with pneumonia in both lungs. There was some recent sign, however, an indication that his health was improving.
Tonight, many Hoosiers are reflecting on the loss and legacy of Pope Francis, and that is especially true for local Catholics who met him in person.
Nearly a decade ago, hundreds of Hoosiers traveled from here out east to D.C. and Philadelphia for the Pope's very first visit to the U.S. Our Jenny Runovich covered that for us back in 2015, and today she caught up and had a conversation with people who made that very impactful trip. Jenny?
And it was impactful, ladies. It's still something many of them tell me they still talk about regularly all these years later. A once-in-a-lifetime experience with a once-in-a-generation leader. They say even in crowds, Pope Francis was able to foster a personal connection and deepen people's faith. This energy, these images a decade ago still resonate with Indiana Catholics.
The crowd was roaring. It's like the beginning of the Indy 500, just the crowd's going crazy.
Among tens of thousands in Philly and D.C. in 2015, hundreds of Hoosiers who made the pilgrimage to see Pope Francis in person. They're now reflecting on his loss, his legacy, that sacred time they got to be close to a man of God.
A chance of a lifetime for sure.
Just think that we got to go be there.
Patrick Bauer distributed communion during Francis's first visit to the U.S., stood just feet away as the Pope blessed the crowd. He calls it a Holy Spirit moment.
Where we were, he went right by in front of us in the Pope-mobile. And then when the crowds, the way they erupted, the enthusiasm, the excitement, just the whole atmosphere of Philadelphia was just, this is just something special.
The energy in the city is just enormous.
David DeLacco was there with his growing family. He says Francis was humble, genuine, kind, proved why he's known as the People's Pope.
He was a pope concentrated on showing the world love, caring for the most vulnerable. To see his love for the people, during our visit, and just someone that truly cares for each human soul.
It's that legacy that Hoosier Catholics are celebrating now, even as they mourn his loss.
He was more than a priest. He was the shepherd of the little people. When I was a stranger, when I was an immigrant, when I was hungry, when I was poor, those are the people you reach out to. And he just exemplified that in such a gentle, good manner.
Keep him in our hearts and our prayers, and to move ourselves forward in life and remember his work.
Hoosiers say Pope Francis deepened their faith and gave them memories here they'll never forget. And it might sound a little strange to feel a personal connection with someone in a crowd of tens of thousands, but to a T, that's what everyone described about their experience with Pope Francis. And I can tell you guys, I felt it too while I was there. Folks told me today it was just his way of genuinely welcoming everyone to the church that set him apart. But that place, both places were electric. And to see how he connected with people was pretty impressive.
Really bring people to the faith.
Oh,
letting people know that they're included.
Yes.
Who am I to judge?
Exactly.
And to think that just yesterday he was among the people, he was doing his work, and ended up working apparently his entire life. It's just
to the last. Yeah, it sure is. And by the way, if you want to see more about the Pope's visit to the U.S., kind of how Hoosiers experienced that time, we've compiled all of our coverage from then right now on WTHR Plus. Lots of impactful stories to share. Just download on your TV and watch for free.
All right. Thank you for bringing us that, Jenny. And we're also hearing from the Archdiocese of Indianapolis tonight.
Archbishop Charles Thompson sharing a statement and also a picture that was taken of him with the Pope when he met him during a meeting with U.S. bishops back in 2019. The Archbishop said, quote, "The late Pope's desire for openness, dialogue, and transparency offered us many opportunities to see firsthand how he responded to the pastoral and social challenges of our time." Tonight, we're also hearing from a former Indiana senator. He's a man who got a chance to work with Pope Francis during his time serving as the U.S. ambassador to the Holy See.
Joe Donnelly appeared on the Today Show this morning where he said it was a privilege of a lifetime to work with Pope Francis. And then he went on to talk about the Pope's legacy.
I think it will be the legacy of kindness, of the Bible quote, "Whatever you do for the least of us, you do for me." And that was pretty much the center of his papacy. And as was said, he took the world by storm. His kindness, his love, it was a reflection of, for so many in the church and so many around the world, what they had hoped to hear.
Now, as you may know, Pope Francis was the first Latin American pontiff born in Argentina.
And he charmed people all around the world with his humble lifestyle and his concern for the poor. Melanie Zanona now shares how U.S. and world leaders are now responding to news of his death tonight.
The mournful sound of St. Peter's bells fills the air as the world processes the passing of Pope Francis on this Easter Monday. The faithful taking part in a rosary this afternoon as his body lies at Casa Santa Marta, his home. His death coming just a day after he greeted throngs in Vatican City, touching millions around the globe. And here in the U.S., Catholic churches across the country holding masses in his honor.
Pope Francis was a determined man. And in my mind, I think he was determined to see Easter.
President Trump meeting the pontiff in 2017, today offering condolences.
He was a good man, worked hard, he loved the world.
Vice President J.D. Vance, a Catholic, met with the Pope before Easter Mass. Today, posting he was happy to see him, though he was very ill. President Biden, only the second Catholic to be president, had a close relationship with Francis. In a statement today, he said, "He was unlike any who came before him. Pope Francis will be remembered as one of the most consequential leaders of our time, and I am better for having known him." The Holy See visited the United States in 2015, greeted by President Obama. He was the first pope to address a joint session of Congress.
The land of the free at the home of the brave.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio was first elected pope in 2013. He chose his name after St. Francis of Assisi, who was known for his poverty and humility. Following in his footsteps, Pope Francis earning the nickname the People's Pope.
It's going to be a loss for us. I mean, it's just too hard to explain.
The Holy Father showed to us a father's care, a father's affection, a father's love, especially for those in most need.
We're also learning that the Pope decreed in his will that he will be buried in a simple underground tomb at St. Mary Major Basilica. Now, it's going to be days before he is laid to rest.
In 2 days, the Pope will lie in state in St. Peter's Basilica. The funeral is expected to take place in St. Peter's Square in 4 to 6 days.
And then in 15 to 20 days, the conclave will take place. That's the gathering of cardinals who elect a new pope.
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt will take a closer look at how Pope Francis is being remembered tonight.
Lester Holt will report on the Pope's life and also dig deeper into the impact he had not just on the church, but on the world. Rob?
Well, we had some cloud cover that moved in for many of you and stuck around for much of the day, but there were some breaks in the sunshine. Meanwhile, temperatures 60 degrees. It's been a little bit breezy. We've had winds bring in a different air mass, so we're starting to see some cooler 50s to our north and west. Meanwhile, we're eroding those 60s and 70s that we were lucky enough to see farther to the south and east. Temperatures overnight are going to cool down a bit, so we have dry air trying to move in. It's going to see our temperatures drop into the 40s and 50s for some of you, depending on where you are. We'll start with a cooler start to the day tomorrow, but look at this. we are expecting to warm up. Sunny and very pleasant for tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, highs in the mid-70s, and this is just the start of a big warm up. I'm going to show you even warmer temperatures. Yes, I have 80s. That's coming up in the forecast.
Tonight, we're getting a look at a very fiery crash that's causing traffic problems on the northwestern part of Indiana.
So take a look at the video that Indiana State Police has shared with us, and it shows a semi-fire on I-65 in Jasper County.
State Police also shared a closer look at the flames, which closed I-65 north and southbound lanes. The semi here hauling petroleum, so they're now calling this a hazmat situation. All lanes of I-65 are closed in this area right now after the fire damaged the roadway. And tonight, new details into an Easter morning shooting which critically injured a 15-year-old in Lawrence.
Police say an 18-year-old is now in jail awaiting possible criminal charges. Our Ashton Hackman explains what led to the shooting and why police made an arrest.
The 18-year-old told police he caught that boy and several others allegedly breaking into his girlfriend's car here at the M Club Apartments. Now he could face an attempted murder charge.
New court documents reveal the man and his girlfriend just got back from a party and were leaving to go to the gas station. On the way to the girl's car, he claimed to see 3 to 4 people in black masks, 1 or 2 by the car and the others waiting in another car. He says he was startled, allegedly grabbed for his gun, and when the driver began getting out of the car, the 18-year-old was in fear for his life and fired off around 10 shots.
Anytime you have a shooting where somebody was responding to something that was, a criminal act happening to them or against them, you're looking back at it and saying, all right, in this situation, would have a reasonable person acted this way or not?
Ahead at 6, hear from former Deputy Prosecutor Brad Banks about self-defense laws in Indiana and if this shooting fits that criteria. In Lawrence, Ashton Hackman, 13 News.
Now, at last check, the 15-year-old boy was in the hospital in critical condition. The Marion County prosecutor will make a decision on the criminal charges, the official charges there.
Tonight, 2 13-year-olds are now under arrest following a car chase in downtown Indy. It ended shortly after midnight Sunday, not too far away from Lucas Oil Stadium, the home of the Colts. Metro Police are now sharing this picture. This was the car that was damaged in the incident. The police report says that the car the teens were in was stolen and that another car was also damaged. The teens now face preliminary charges of felony auto theft, misdemeanor marijuana possession, leaving the scene of an accident with injury, and resisting law enforcement. Police also released a picture of this, a gun that they say they found in the car, and that led to a preliminary charge of dangerous possession of a firearm by a minor.
Tonight, the Marion County coroner is identifying an 18-year-old killed after a shooting at a gas station. Malachi May died 2 days after the shooting at a gas station near East 34th Street and North Emerson Avenue. That's on Indy's east side. Police say they found a man in critical, or rather May, they found in critical condition inside a truck after responding to an incomplete 911 call. Officers say they got a vague description of the suspect but did not find them.